Hi, welcome all to the national webinar organized by MES College, Nedumkandam, Department of Physical Education on the topic Contemporary Physical Education and Sports Trends and Challenges. This is Dr. Anup KV, Assistant Professor of Physical Education, GPM Government College, Mancheshwar. This lecture will give you a thought on the reflections about the contemporary physical education and sport. The objective is to debate over the possibility of empowering people using physical education and sport to provide people with awareness and conditions to make social transformations effective. Physical education and sports should promote less emphasis on competition in people's daily lives and should give more emphasis on cooperation. The adoption of cooperative games and activities are within this scope. The physical educators and its professionals have to act inside as well as outside of their professional settings effectively and efficiently to complete this endeavor. It is a fact that physical education was influenced and used by external factors that were not related to education. It is also a fact that physical education has consciously or unconsciously collaborated to support or preserve the dominant ideology and of the presiding governing system. This is very easy to prove. We just have to take a critical look at the history of physical education and compare it to the social political situation in a certain period. In accordance to the historical context, physical education methodological models and actions have developed severe and disciplinary values. These have contributed to the stagnation and disintegration of knowledge and to disagreement with social and political reality. These elements of conservation will be weaker as the presence of analysis and critical thinking become stronger. The history is defined by its subordination to misrepresented objectives, body instruction, socially alienating practices, athlete worship, lack of individuality, and maintenance of social inequity. In the past, physical education classes have consisted of sportive activities. Precocious sport initiation, performance, and immediacy do not consider the individual. The individual is the only one who knows his or her own possibilities and limits. The movements are stereotyped and create orthodoxy because they do not exercise and do not give space for creation. It is necessary to reflect and question the presence and the place of physical education in school and in the social, political, economic, cultural context. We must rethink practical methodologies and develop a conscious and critical vision of the non-neutrality of the actions. We must also make agreements to collaborate in the education of the people that will act in the process of changing the society. In this new era of physical education, being a professional, the first and the most important obligation is to improve the access to physical activity. There should not be any barriers to participate in the physical education or sports programs. Sports for all and UNICEF demands physical education should be the fundamental right of every child. The other goal is very important at this pandemic juncture, that is the prevention of disease. The World Health Organization has emphasized that the world has to live fighting against this coronavirus for a long time. Developing immunity and well-being through the physical activity is imperative. The physical education scenario has changed a lot depending upon the demands of the society and culture. In accordance with the demands and the requirements, the physical education has extended its realm from the school setting to community, such as community sports development programs, CSD programs, home, so that at this particular time we are promoting the slogan sports at home, workplace, etc. We have to adapt with the changing situations and to excel professionally. Here comes the very important concept of physical literacy. Physical literacy is the ability to move with competence and confidence in a wide variety of physical activities in multiple environments that benefit the healthy development of the whole person. Physical literacy has building blocks just as literacy, numeracy and music do. So just like in literacy, we start with learning the alphabets A, B, C. The next step is we combine the alphabets to make words, and we combine the words to make sentences. Just like in numeracy and music, we have to follow the same flow in physical literacy also. We have to start with the movement vocabulary, like how to stand, how to sit, how to walk, how to run, how to hop, then jumping, then catching. All these things makes the movement vocabulary. If you put it together in a sequence, it becomes a sequential physical literacy. And if you put the sequences in a task, it becomes a complete physical activity. So there should be a clear-cut model for representing our physical activity, and this physical literacy is very important nowadays, not only in the schools but also in community based and in workplace based. I think that there will not be any counter argument regarding the benefit of physical activity. Everyone recognizes the benefit of physical activity, and being fit is the best method to stay in a stage of health. In the recent World Health Organization media briefing, the WHO head has rightly said that we have to improve our immunity to overcome this dangerous situation of COVID-19. To improve our immunity, as all we know, the best method is to do physical activity. So the physical benefits, the psychological benefits, and the prevention of diseases, all these are well established facts regarding the importance of physical activity. But why we are not able to propagate this important aspect to the community? Here we need to discourse the things to the normal people. Being the professionals in physical education and sports, we have to make this and to reach the community and the society at grassroots level. We have to take up this physical activity challenge right now. This physical activity challenge gives you a complete idea of where we lacks. This physical activity challenge is to improve the participation of populations with low rates of physical activity. If you go through the statistics, we can divide it on the basis of gender. You can see that the female or the women are generally less active than men. While in the case of geographical area, in India, it has been seen that urban people are less active than rural. And in the case of socio-religious aspect, so many religious or caste-based hurdles are there in the participation of physical activity in public. The people with a high income group are less active, and it is very common that people with a government job are less active. Variety of reasons are there. In this case, so we have to accommodate all these people according to their feasibility, according to their time, according to their availability of facilities, according to their culture, according to their social settings. So we have to take out this physical activity challenge in a very serious way. The only thing that we can do is improve the participation of populations. This definition of physical education has been taken on the outlook of its contemporary nature. If you just go through this definition, you can see that physical education is an educational process, and the weapon in this process is our body or the physical activity. By this, we are helping the people or the students to acquire physical skills, fitness, knowledge about sports and physical education, the attitude of the people, and overall the optimal development of the individual. So physical education is not only limited to the physical aspect of an individual, it comprises the whole development of a person. And being an educational process, it encompasses the whole lifespan of an individual. Exercise science is an emerging field in physical education and sports. The scientific analysis of exercise or physical activity through theories from many different disciplines such as biology, biochemistry, physics, and psychology is called as an exercise science. If you take the definition of sports, it is an organized competitive activities governed by rules that standardize the competition and the conditions so individuals can compete fairly. So in sports, competition may be against oneself or opponents, and the outcome in a sports activity is highly depends upon the strategy and the skill of the player or the team. In the earlier slides, I have given the definition of physical education, exercise science, and sport to explain the emerging trend in the physical education field. Nowadays, physical education has taken the status of a profession. Now it is physical education, exercise science, and sport, a complete professional unit. A profession needs a specialized training, and it is an intellectual field of study that is dedicated to the betterment of society. Physical education professionals are doing their best in making a better world through the medium of sports. We have to take up this physical activity challenge right now. This physical activity challenge gives you a complete idea of where we lack. This physical activity challenge is to improve the participation of populations with low rates of physical activity. If we go through the statistics, we can divide it on the basis of gender. You can see that the female or the women are generally less active than men. While in the case of geographical area, if you see the subdivisions of physical education profession, the first one is the exercise physiology. Exercise physiology studies the impact of exercise and physical activity on the human body. The short-term and long-term adaptations of the various systems of the body, the effect of physical activity and exercise on the health status of different populations. All these comes under the purview of exercise physiology. In sports medicine, studies about the medical relationship between physical activity, sports related injuries and the human body. The prevention, the design of conditioning programs, fitting of protective equipment and counseling regarding proper nutrition, all this comes under sports medicine. Moreover, the treatment and the rehabilitation, the assessment of injuries, administration of first aid, design and implementation of rehabilitation program and treatment, all these are well studied under the head sports medicine. The third subtopic is sport biomechanics. Sports biomechanics applies the method of physics to the study of human motion and the motion of sports objects. It studies the effects of force on the body and sports objects. Mechanical analysis of activities like production of power, leverage and stability, and the analysis of effectiveness and efficiency of movements, all comes under the head sport biomechanics. A lot of research are taking place in this area. The next one is sport philosophy. Study of the nature of reality and values of movement for all participants. Debate critical issues, beliefs and values relative to physical education and sport, and the influence of thoughts, actions and decisions in our professional endeavors and personal lives. Sports philosophy, a lot of literatures are there in sports philosophy. Sports history, critical examination of the past with a focus on events, people and trends that influenced the direction of the field. The who, what, when, where, how, and why of sport is examined within the social context of the time. Looking into the past provides greater understanding of present events and insight with respect to the future. An emerging field is the next one, that is the sport and exercise psychology. It uses principles from psychology to study human behavior in sport to enhance performance. It studies about the achievement motivation, arousal regulation, goal setting, self-confidence, leadership, and team cohesion, all related to exercise psychology. Moreover, it touches areas like exercise addiction, adherence, motivation, and satisfaction, etc. So these are the very important sub-disciplines in the field of physical education profession. Here comes the very important concept of physical literacy. Physical literacy is the ability to move with competence and confidence in a wide variety of physical activities in multiple environments that benefit the healthy development of the whole person. Physical literacy has building blocks just as literacy, numeracy, and music do. So just like in literacy, we start with learning the alphabets A, B, C. The next step is we combine the alphabets to make words, and we combine the words to make sentences. Just like in numeracy and music, we have to follow the same flow in physical literacy also. We have to start with the movement vocabulary, like how to stand, how to sit, how to walk, how to run, how to hop, then jumping, then catching. All these things makes the movement vocabulary. If you put it together in a sequence, it becomes a sequential physical literacy. And if you put the sequences in a task, it becomes a complete physical activity. So there should be a clear-cut model for representing our physical activity, and this physical literacy is very important nowadays, not only in the schools but also in community based and in workplace based. In our college days, we have studied about different types of philosophical approaches like idealism, pragmatism, existentialism, naturism. Different types of philosophical approaches are there, and it has its own concrete ideas and values to establish its fact and about the universe and about the existence of the life. So in our approach, we should have to focus, or we should have to make a philosophical approach. We can have two types of approaches. One is the education of the physical. It means focus on fitness development and acquisition of skills. That is the development of the body only. The second one is education through the physical. It is the focus on the development of the total person, the social, emotional, intellectual, and physical development. The question is, we have to choose a very true and worthful philosophical approach in physical education. In order to contest, change, or improve physical education, sport, and society, it is necessary to inquire, examine, and approach physical education and sport as areas in which values, practices, ideologies, beliefs, and meanings are contested. Present day physical education is going through a period of identity crisis. This period does not have a bad connotation at all. It is implicit that those involved in the field are striving to reach a consensus. There are many reasons why a critical pedagogy of physical education is necessary. Three reasons are: to promote critical considerations on the socio-political functions of physical education. Second one, to establish critical considerations on the institutionalization of physical education. And the third one, to promote critical considerations on physical education discourses, practices, and social structures related to physical education and sport. In the earlier slides, I have given the definition of physical education, exercise science, and sport to explain the emerging trend in the physical education field. Nowadays, physical education has taken the status of a profession. Now it is physical education, exercise science, and sport, a complete professional unit. A profession needs a specialized training, and it is an intellectual field of study that is dedicated to the betterment of society. Physical education professionals are doing their best in making a better world through the medium of sports.